Hey everybody, today I am reviewing the Canon Pixma Pro 100 printer, and I'm really excited about this thing. I mean, just look at the prints. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I'm really excited about the black and whites with the dye inks that this thing uses. There are benefits and drawbacks to the printer, and we're going to talk about both of those. But overall, I'm really pleased with this thing. The Pixma Pro 100 is relatively inexpensive compared to some of the other printers out there. The inks are expensive, but the quality of the prints is absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to walk you through everything that you need to know about the printer in terms of review, and also some things that I've found about setting up the printer to get your very best results. So let's take a look. First of all, the print size. The Pixma Pro 100 can print up to a 13 by 19 inch, which is an A3 plus size of paper, which is really nice. You know, if you're going to mat that and then frame it, that's a very nice size print. And of course, it can print smaller stuff, and you can even print on a CD with it if you use it for that. But I think just about everybody listening to this review is a photographer. And the maximum resolution is 4,800 pixels wide and 2,400 pixels on the short edge, which gives you dots per inch of about 250 dots per inch when you were printing, you know, a borderless 13 by 19 inch print or an A3 plus print. And I do like that the printer can print borderless, which is really nice. A lot of printers cannot do that. So nice to see that it can print all the way to the edge if that's what you choose. Most of the time, though, I like having a little bit of border. Next is the print quality. When I first set up the printer, I was getting lackluster results. It just wasn't quite right until I installed the plugin from Canon for Lightroom and Photoshop, and then I was really able to dial it in by doing patterning that we're going to discuss later. This printer uses dye-based inks, and so in contrast to pigment inks, dye inks can get a little bit more saturated, but they have the drawback of being a little bit less resilient. You know, nobody can really test these prints for 100 years because the ink, you know, isn't even that old. You know, these inks were made a couple of years ago. And so we really don't know ever how long they're going to last. And so whenever you see a manufacturer saying, oh, there's a 100-year ink, it's mostly a marketing term. But there are certainly things that we know can affect the durability, the longevity of the inks. But Canon's advertising 100 years, so basically you're going to be dead by the time the ink has any problems anyway. So nothing to worry about there. When you're installing the printer, do not, under any circumstances, put those blasted CDs they give you into the computer. It's going to install just a million things in there. I mean, I was amazed at what kind of stuff they want you to install just to have a printer. It's just nasty bloatware. Don't do it unless you want all kinds of popping reminders about your ink levels and where to buy ink all the time. Don't do it. You're going to hate yourself. The best way to install this printer is to simply take the very short USB cable that comes with the printer, plug one end into the printer, plug the other end into the computer, and your computer's automatically, at least it did on my Mac, I would think Windows is going to do the same, pops up a thing and says, new printer, you want to install the driver? Click yes, and bang, you'll get the latest driver right on your machine that way. But you still need to get the plugin for Lightroom and Photoshop. It's very good, that we're going to discuss later. All the other stuff you can really skip. You just need those two things to effectively use this printer. So that's how I would recommend doing it. When you're printing with the Canon Pixma Pro 100, you definitely need to download the Print Studio Pro plugin that Canon releases for Photoshop and Lightroom. I hate extra bloatware on my computer, and so when they give you those DVDs, first of all, my iMac doesn't even have a spot to put one in, but I don't download all the software. I keep that off my computer, if you just plug the printer into the computer, it'll automatically download the driver for you. But then you still need software to control some of the things that the printer can do. And that you can do all through the plugin. You don't need all the extra stuff. So I have a photo opened in Lightroom that shows good areas of contrast. It shows a delicate skin tone. We get a little color around. This is a perfect kind of photo for testing the printer's colors, and also for testing the saturation and the contrast and the brightness. So now that I've installed the plugin, I'm going to go to File, Plugin Extras, somewhere, here it is in Lightroom, and then Canon Print Studio Pro. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pattern the printer. Now before you do this, you must calibrate your screen. For that, I use the Spider color calibrators. They are really, really good and inexpensive. It's about $100. If you're not sure how to do this, go to improvephotography.com/calibrate. If you spend all this money on a printer, you need to calibrate if you're going to get good results. Okay, so we're going to set our paper type here, and we're using Photo Paper Pro Luster. And I just get that right on the box itself. It says exactly what kind of paper it should be patterned for. And you'll have the profiles already installed when you put in the printer. And so I'm going to choose that. We're on A3 paper, that paper that's 13 by 19. I like to print this big so I can see this easy because this is a very important test. And I'm going to go down here to correction. This is where you can say if the photo on my computer looks a little bit warmer, cooler, whatever, than the actual print. This is where you can dial that in. So first we're going to have to pattern the print. I'm going to go click on Pattern Print. And here I'm going to select a region of the photo that's going to help me to see it. So I want a lot of skin tone, some of the straw hat, a little bit of green there, and a major area of contrast. Okay, I have that selected. And now there are two tests, a color one and a brightness. We need to run both of them separately. So I'm going to run the color test and click Print. And then when that prints, I'm going to switch to the brightness test and I'm going to click Print. Now I have already done that. I've already printed my two patterns. And then all you have to do is look at let's say we're going to look at this contrast one first. And I'm comparing all these squares. I want to find the one that is most exactly like the photo open in Lightroom. I'm not looking for which one looks the best or is the prettiest. I just want which one matches what I see in Lightroom. And then I'm going to do that for the contrast. I'm going to circle the one that I like. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the color test. See which one is exactly like Lightroom, and I'm going to circle the one that I like. As soon as I have done that, then I know what values to type in, because right next to each square, you'll see these numbers, C -5, that's cyan -5, magenta +10, etc. And then once we're done in here, the plugin has a little bug. It keeps crashing every time I do that. But we're going to open it back up. And when we do that, we're just going to go into the correction feature and we're going to type in all those values that we just got here so that it prints exactly like we see on the screen. I'm just going to go to correct, make sure we have our paper set properly. All right, we have that all set. Now I'm going to type in those values that I saw. I wanted cyan -5. Magenta -5, oops, 5, and yellow +10. And then I'm going to look at my brightness values, and mine turned out very strange. I had to go all the way to the end on this one. Brightness 20 and contrast 20. I'm not quite sure why mine had to push so far to the edge, but that is what looked best on the print. Okay, now I have all these values typed in, and all I need to do is to save this. So I'm going to hit the little plus, and I'm going to call this Perfect Luster Print, and then I'm going to hit OK. Now, anytime I want to print from Lightroom, I just open the photo, go to File, plug in extras. It's going to bring up this page. I'm going to say I'm going to click on this, that I want to use these defaults, and I click Print, and I'm going to have a perfect print every single time. So this is a plugin that's actually pretty darn cool, and you definitely want to use it if you're using the Canon Pixma Pro 100. Now, the most satisfying, well, there are two satisfying things about this. One is a light and one is a sound. I just love on this printer. When you put the little ink cartridges in there, it just pops up this little glorious red ecstasy LED light in there for each of the cartridges. I just found that very satisfying. The other thing that I really like is when you open the printer door, it makes this bling, bling sound that I could just be entertained with for a long time. Okay, the printer itself weighs 19 kilograms, which is 43 pounds, and it's very long. It's, let's see here, it is 27 inches long, which is 68 millimeters or centimeters, so expect this to take up most of or all of a desk in your office. It's not a small or lightweight printer, but you know, this is serious printing juices that's in this thing. I like the weight of it. When you're getting paper, okay, this is one thing that I learned. When you're using paper, the Canon Luster paper is really, really good. I got excellent results with the Canon paper, the Luster LU101, 13 by 19. You can get 50 sheets for about $30 on Amazon. Very good results with this. I also got some the SG201 semi-gloss paper, but I don't recommend using the Canon matte paper. I'm not quite sure what it is, but this printer just does not get quite as good of results on matte paper. Maybe it's something with the dye inks. I'm not really sure. And so I would recommend going to somebody else's paper. There just a lot of reviewers found problems printing on matte. And so if you're made of money, you can get the Hanamula stuff or get the Epson matte paper. It just tends to bleed a little bit less. The Canon papers just tend to bleed a little bit more than they should, so that the prints just don't have the sharpness, the crispness that they really should. It does not print on canvas, but it will print on canvas paper if you just want that texture, but it's not a canvas up to 20 mil. The cost of the ink is very high. Canon advertises all kinds of stuff about how long the ink's going to last you. I haven't yet run it out of ink. I've been printing a whole lot here, but I have not yet run it out of ink. But what I can see so far from my ink levels is that you're going to get about 35 13 by 19 inch prints, and then we're done. And so really, if you do the math there of 35 prints and it costs about $100 to replace the ink, we're cheaper than printing from a professional lab, but not much. I mean, these are expensive inks. If you're going to do this from home, it's really for the convenience of being able to print. The price, if you're printing a lot over several years, it's going to be a little bit cheaper than a lab maybe, but not a whole lot. And we've got to make up the price of the printer itself. But I did find that, so the problem with, you can buy just replacement ink for most printers, no problem. But with a photo printer, especially with these dye inks, and there are 8 cartridges, it has to really be specially made so you get everything looking right. And most of the replacement inks on Amazon, just have pathetic ratings. People aren't liking it. But I did find a company called Precision Colors that seems to be making really good, bottles of ink that you can get to replace the ink, and it still works with the little chips in the cartridges from the Canon ink sets. And so I would recommend taking a look at that. if you look at this review on improvedphotography.com, I'll have a link over there, and it looks like that will be, you know, a tenth of the cost of the Canon stuff. And I haven't tried it yet, but the reviews that I've seen have been really positive about the resulting photos, even when using that third-party ink, with which will be much less expensive. I'm anxious to try that the next time, or as soon as I run these out of ink. Now, the wireless on the printer is excellent. It's a major reason why I looked for this printer, because I don't want to always be corded up to my iMac. My iMac has so many USB cords coming in and out of everything. I've already got to use a hub because I don't have enough spaces, because I use so many peripherals and cameras and microphones and stuff. So I like that it's wireless. However, the wireless does have two limitations. If you're using AirPrint, which just means on your iPhone, which I'm using to record this, you can just go on a photo and click print, and bang, it prints with AirPrint. Anything on the network can print to it. It's beautiful. However, you can only print up to a 5x7. I don't know what that is in UK, in international sizes, but you know, it's the regular little print that we pass around, a little postcard size. You can only print that big on AirPrint. Another limitation of running this printer off wireless is it can't do upgrades by itself. The only way to upgrade the firmware on the printer is by plugging in via USB to the computer, which isn't too big of a deal to do, because, you know, it's not like they're going to be firmware upgrades every day. But if you always have this thing on wireless, you may never notice that it even has an upgrade available. So periodically, you'll want to plug it into the computer. But for everyday printing, you can do it over wireless. The speed of the printer, I think, is pretty decent. It takes, Canon says it takes 90 seconds to make a 13x19 A3 Plus print. I found it more to be like closer to the 2-minute mark, but it's reasonable. I don't know if anybody needs to set speed records for 13x19s, but it does a reasonable speed. Now, the print quality. I've already mentioned that the black and whites are just gorgeous. I really love the black and white. I mean, you can see just every tiny little detail on that print, every pore on the people's skin. I mean, it's just dead neutral grays. Really beautiful. The contrast is excellent. I love the black and whites from this print. Color prints are also really nice. I mean, they're really beautiful. I would consider the black and whites to be more of a standout feature, but the color prints from this thing are also very good, and the detail is there. I'd put this printer up against just about everything, unless you're kind of the scientific photographer that wants to look at everything under a magnifying glass. You're going to be totally happy with the print quality here. And even if you do want to look at everything under a magnifying glass, you're still going to be pleased with this printer. So that's kind of my review of the Canon Pixma Pro 100 printer. Really excited to put this thing through more mileage and continue to test it. But so far, it's been an excellent printer, and I'm anxious to see about trying new inks and trying different papers and all kinds of things with it. Thanks for joining me. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have stuff like this coming up all the time on this YouTube channel, and lots more videos out there. So we'll see ya. Bye.